All right, back with another season 2021 preview, this time tackling the Saints. Lordo, big off-season for the Saints once again.
They did have a huge off-season. They've had a couple of big off-seasons, and it's amazing they've become a destination club, St Kilda, which you couldn't have said that about them the previous years. In comes Brad Crouch, who will be wonderful for Jack Steele, the best and fairest winner. Frawley, that one did surprise me, but his pre-season form has been good enough to suggest he'll be in that round one team. I think Higgins is a big recruit. He's missed out on 3 premierships at Richmond, but I think he'll be a star AFL player in 2021 and has looked good in the pre-season. And McKernan, I think he's back up for, we've seen Marshall go down, and King, he might need some help at some stage throughout the year. So I think they've recruited pretty well in this off-season.
Well, probably the biggest recruit is Brad Crouch. How do you see him fitting in that midfield mix?
He's an interesting one, Crouch, because he's been an accumulator for a lot of his career. Doesn't kick many goals, but again, on the Melbourne big stage where we'll watch him a lot more closely, like we have Dylan Shield in the last 12, 24 months. How good is Brad Crouch? He's a best and fairest winner at the Adelaide Crows, but I don't think he hurts, so he hasn't got the respect of a lot of people in the AFL. So comes with a bit of baggage as well, but I think that for what St Kilda need, he was a good acquisition because after Jack Steele, Seb Ross, they lost Jack Stephen, so I think Brad Crouch is a good recruit for them if he's at his best.
And now Rowan Marshall out, should impact the Saints this year. How do you see Ryder performing one out?
Yeah, Paddy Ryder at his age, probably you don't want him one out, but Paddy thrives, being an ex-teammate of mine. Paddy Ryder thrives being the main man. So I think it might be good for Paddy and getting the best. Paddy, needs challenges, and Paddy Ryder, he's going to get that. He's it, really, with maybe McKernan to back him up if they need that. So I think we'll see the best of Ryder if he's over his injuries, which he looks to be, being the lone ruckman.
You mentioned James Frawley before and how well his pre-season's gone. How do you see the likes of Dougal Howard, Jake Carlisle and James Frawley going down there?
Yeah, I think that it's either one of Carlisle or Frawley. So I think Howard picks himself. He's the number one. Wilkie is number 2, and then you've got I think Carlisle or Frawley that are fighting for that third spot. You can't play all 4 of them, and then they've got obviously their smalls. Obviously Patton did his knee, but they've got plenty of other guys back there in that defence. Robertson's obviously had some injuries and is in doubt for the season as well. So I think that they look pretty strong back there, to be honest, and Frawley's just extra support.
Well, last year a lot of expectations were for the Saints to win a final, and they did that. What's the expectation on them this year?
Well, I think they're hungry, and they've got full belief in Brett Ratton and his plan, and I think that's something that they lacked a little bit. They lacked a pizzazz as a team, and now they've got that hardness, they've got that skill, they've got outside run, they've got inside, they've got I love their forward line. I think that you look at it, you've got King, Membry, Marshall, Higgins, Mason Wood joins them as a bit of X factor. Sinclair's had the pre-season of his life, Jack Sinclair, and then you've got Gresham and Dan Butler. So it's just smalls, talls, mediums. They've got all that. I think their defence is pretty solid, and their midfield they've added to with obviously Crouch. So I think they've only just scratched the tip of the iceberg, really, and now they should be aiming to win 2 finals and be their preliminary final weekend.
Who is the big improver you see at the Saints this year?
Max King. Yeah, I think that Max King, he's been on a list for 2 years, but he's only played 1 season because of that knee reconstruction. So he was getting buffeted off the footy. He was taking the number 1 defenders. He'll get that again this year, but they've put on kilos, both brothers, 4 to 5 kilos, so they're not going to be pushed around anymore. And the upside is just ginormous. So he was a goal a game player last year. I expect it to go to 2 goals. So I think he'll be pushing 50 goals for the Saints this year, which is huge for pretty much a second-year player.
And who's the pressure on?
I think the pressure's on Dan Hanbury. Massive contract, Dan Hanbury, and again, soft tissue injuries. Is he in their best side anymore? So I think it's big on Dan because they've invested a lot in him. He hasn't given a lot back to this point in time. And likewise, the other winger, Bradley Hill, he become 2 outside Bradley Hill and wasn't what they would have hoped for. So 2 wingers for the Saints, Hanbury and Hill, pressure's on.
Are they a good enough team to make the top 4?
Yeah, I think they are. I probably wasn't so sure, but watching the way they've played through this pre-season period and the growth, I look at some of the growth in guys like Josh Battle, and you look at their best and fairest results, Hunter Clark, Nick Caulfield. They've got a lot of good youth coming through, so I think that'll be enough to potentially get them in that top four.